now that this is all folded, the next step we do is to heat set it. There are two ways that you can heat set the creases in this fabric. One way is to use an iron, and the other way is to use the oven. Okay, so now I'm going to iron the fabric that's in the mold in order to get the creases to stay in the fabric. So first I'll take my iron, and I'm going to set it to a setting that is slightly hotter, like one setting hotter than the recommended temperature for the fabric I'm working with. And so if you're doing a polyester or nylon, just go to that recommended setting and then make it a little bit hotter. And then while that's warming up, I'm going to go ahead and remove these binder clips because they'll only get in the way. And I think that it should stay roughly in place, sort of. And then you're just going to start by ironing the top of it and making sure you press down firmly and give it about like, run it over a couple times. Make sure it gets a total of like maybe 30 seconds for every fold. 10 should actually be fine. I tend to go a little bit extra and do extra time just in case, but run it over both sides a couple of times. And be careful while you're doing this, it could be very hot, and so if you have heat gloves, that might be a good thing to wear, but otherwise just make sure that whatever area you touch is has cooled off enough before you handle it. And then you're gonna flip it over and do the same thing, and just run your iron along, and press and hold it in some places. I'm doing this somewhat quickly, only because I'm actually gonna eventually put this in the oven, but I wanted to show you how you would do this with an iron as well. Okay, and once you get it from both sides, that's good for the creases that are close to the top edge of the paper, but then there are folds here, like in the interior, that the heat from just pressing it from the top won't reach. And so you're gonna actually wanna open it up slightly and place your iron in and get those creases as well. And so you just open it and stick the tip in and run your iron along those creases. I don't think you have to get every single one, but it would be better if you did. If you get most of them, right, the heat should contact, like if you did every other layer, the heat from the adjacent layer should still be able to reach the next layer. And so, and if you do that, you're also going to want to flip it and do it from this side as well. So the ironing method is a little bit tedious, but it works well if you don't have an oven. But if you do have an oven, then that's even better. So if you have an oven, what you want is for the fabric to stay as flat as possible and as secure as possible. And so for that, I actually like to use cooking twine and tie it up so that it stays flat when I put it in the oven. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And the tighter you tie it, the more crisp your folds will be. So if you want really sharp folds, you should tie it tightly. If you want softer folds, then tie it more loosely. If you don't have some sort of string or cooking twine, that's okay. What you can do is take a strip of paper and loop it around your mold, like so, and just pull it as tightly as possible, and then get some masking tape and tape the end down onto itself. So you're not actually taping the mold or the fabric, you're just taping the strip of paper, and that loop of paper will hold the mold flat and in place. You want to make sure that you use masking tape or a paper-based tape, because something plastic will melt when you put it in the oven, possibly. But I'm going to continue using string. Alright, now that this is all bound, it's time to go and bake this in the oven. Make sure there is a rack near the top for your fabric mold, and near the bottom you'll want to fill a baking sheet with water. I've already pre-boiled my water. Doing so will create steam, which will help to set the creases. Then place your mold inside the oven and let it bake for about half an hour. Once you've finished either baking or ironing the mold, wait for it to cool down completely back to room temperature before removing it. And now these creases are permanently set into this fabric. You might need to stretch it out a little bit, but that's it. Voila! You have a fabulous little origami garment. The heat setting methods that I just showed you are what I use to create the vast majority of my designs. For instance, in this photo for these pants, I used a Waterbomb tessellation, and I've included a link in the description for a folding tutorial that has a similar pattern. In these shirts, I created original designs that follow mathematical equations, so if you're mathematically inclined and interested in generating similar patterns, you can find out how by reading a paper that I've linked as well. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I'm really excited to be a part of the Radical Fit program with the Chicago Public Library. If you end up making something following this technique, I'd love to see it. You can tag me at YOUmediaChicago and use the hashtag #CPLRadicalFit.